Hello everybody and welcome to my Season 6 Patch 6.2 Ryze guide. No, I have made another Ryze guide for Season 6. It's a little bit older and there's a few mistakes in there that I'd like to fix, and this is a little bit more refined. So with that being said, let's just jump into it. For Masteries, go ahead and take 12 in Ferocity, 18 in Cunning, taking Sorcery, Feast, Vampirism, and Oppressor in the Ferocity. You can take Bounty Hunter if you feel like you're going to be getting loads of kills, but it's a little bit more risky. And same with Double-Edged Sword, it's a little bit more risky, so this is the safer choice that I recommend, highly recommend it. And down the Cunning, taking Wanderer, Secret Stash, Merciless, Dangerous Game, Precision, and Thunderlord's Decree. Thunderlord's Decree is the best keystone to take on Ryze, hands down. In very, very, very rare situations, you can consider taking Storm Raider Surge. I do not recommend it. Don't even think about it till you get pretty good with Ryze. Just take Thunderlord's Decree. Alright, so for runes, you're going to want to go ahead and run flat AP Quints, flat Magic Pen Reds, flat Armor Yellows, and scaling Magic Resist Blues. The point of the scaling Magic Resist Blues is buying Magic Resist in League of Legends is much more expensive than buying armor. And whenever you buy Magic Resist, you don't get near as much as you do when you get armor. So taking the scaling is very nice. However, if the enemy team doesn't have any magic damage on their team, if they don't have any ability power, then taking scaling AP Blues or flat AP Blues is a very good choice for your glyphs. So this is overall the page you want to take, but if you don't have any AP, take flat or scaling AP Blues. Alright, so for your item sets, you're going to go ahead. Running Doran's Drink 2 health potion is always a great idea, especially since you have the biscuit mastery or whatever. The cookie, it's pretty strong because you get the 2 biscuits and life is good. Plus Doran's Ring is really strong on Ryze. It gives him everything he needs. However, I've been messing around with it and I found it to be quite nice, especially against melee champions in the top lane like Poppy, Fiora, things like that. I don't know, Poppy, Fiora, Wukong, anything melee top lane. The Corruption Potion is extremely powerful because whenever they go in to get a hit, especially in the early levels like level 1 through 5, whenever they go and hit a minion, you'll just simply hit them with your E. It'll bounce on them several times, continuously applying the damage on it, which is 15 to 30 magic damage over 3 seconds, depending on your level. So it starts out at 15, gets up to 30, which is quite a lot early game. 15 magic damage is a lot considering like how little health you have early. Not to mention it's going to last you, it's for 12 seconds. So over that 12 seconds, you can hit them with spells like your E, like I said, auto attacks. So overall, one charge of this, not only is it going to give you loads of health and mana back, but it's going to be doing tons of damage to them through your auto attacks and spells. It's going to apply it. So it's really strong. So either start Doran's Ring 2 health pots and Warding Totem. If you're going up against a melee person, I suggest running Corruption Potion, Warding Totem. Plus, potions are really expensive. They're 50 gold. And once you buy this, every time you go back to base, it's going to restore it. Plus, since you have teleport, you're going to be back to lane even more often, getting those charges back. So overall, it makes sense. But like I said, Doran's Ring is better if you're playing against someone who has range, and this is better against melee. Alright, so for the early game, on your first back, avoid going home unless you have at least 750 gold. If you don't have at least 750 gold, it's really a waste going home because then when you teleport back, you won't even have an item. Having 750 gold is ideal because then you can get your Tear of the Goddess, or even better, if you get a kill or two and you're farming well, you can get straight for the Catalyst Protector, which is absolutely ridiculous. Gives you tons of health and mana every time you level up. And it gives you tons of health and mana gives Ryze damage since all of his abilities scale off of your mana. So that's a good choice if you have a lot of money. But overall, your first item is you're typically going to get Tear of the Goddess since it is pretty cheap. Remember, first back, 750 gold. In the mid game, these are your core items essentially. These 4 items you're going to build every game 9 times out of 10. Very strong. Especially these 3 items. You're going to build these 10 times out of 10, and Frozen Heart, you're going to usually get it like 9 times out of 10. So these are your core. So basically, you're going to get your Rod of Aegis. So even if you do get Cast Protector first, then you're still going to get your tier. But basically, Rod of Aegis first. After you've picked up your Catalyst Protector, go ahead and pick up your normal boots. So I guess I'll just put that over there so you guys can see what I mean. So after Catalyst Protector, you're going to get your boots. Then, after you have your normal boots, I highly suggest getting your Rod of Aegis ASAP. And then you can upgrade your boots if you want. It's not necessary. It's usually pretty good to get so you can chase down and run away. And in the later game, I suggest you upgrade them to Distortion. Then get your Archangel Staff pretty much ASAP. It's going to give you loads of damage. But if you are in an AD matchup, say you're top lane against Wukong or something, going straight for Frozen Heart can be a good choice since it does give you armor. I highly suggest going it if you're up against an AD person like Wukong or Zed, and the enemy jungler's AD like Vi. So in a gank or whatever, you're going to have a lot more armor. You're probably not going to die. It's a very good choice. It gives you cooldown reduction, 20% is ridiculous, 90 armor, loads of mana, and then reduces attack speed of nearby enemy champions by 15%. Beast item on Ryze. Alright, so these are your 4 core, okay? Get that in your mind. You're always going to want to get these 4, like 99% of the time. Then for your optional items, you have the choice. Instead of going for the sorcerer shoes, you could go for, what are these? Boots of Swiftness, right? Boots of Swiftness are a really good choice if the enemy team has like an AP support like Lulu or Janna, and you know they're going to go for that ghost item. I don't even remember what it's called. It's like the Frost Queen's Claim, right? It's that Frost Queen's Claim. It's ridiculous. It sends out the ghosts and they slow you, they hunt you down, and they'll kill you because it slows you. So if they have like a Janna or a Lulu and they got like a freaking Ahri or Victor mid, and you think they're definitely going to build this, and they have at least one, or preferably if they have 2, going for the Boots of Swiftness is a very good choice since it reduces the duration of slows on you by a considerable amount. So 25%, which is really good. Plus they give you overall more movement speed than normal boots, so they're very nice. Then Merc Treads are also a good choice if they have Auto Lock CC. Auto Lock CC is things like Taric Stun, Fiddlestick's Fear, Fiddlestick's Silence, like Ahri. No, not Ahri. But anything where they can stun or CC you, Ahri's Charm is a skill shot, but anything where they can stun or CC you with a click of a button and it does not miss. Ryze relies off of doing constant damage in a team fight, just spilling his damage out and getting Spell Vamp off his ult and using his passive as damage to keep him alive by killing the enemies and using the Spell Vamp. So Merc Treads is a good choice if they have a lot of auto lock CC. Then Abyssal Scepter is another good choice. No, if you are getting Merc Treads or Boots of Swiftness, if you are going to get Merc Treads or Boots of Swiftness, you're not going to get the Sorcerer shoes. You never want to have more than one different kind of shoe. It just isn't economical whatsoever, and it doesn't pay off whatsoever. Alright, so just note these are for 3 different situations. And if they have a lot of AP, you're going to get Abyssal Scepter for the loads of magic resist, damage, plus it's going to reduce enemies' magic resist by 20, so you're going to be doing more damage. If they don't particularly have a lot of AP on their team, if they don't really have any AP, instead of getting Abyssal, you're going to go for Void Staff because it gives you overall more magic penetration and more ability power. I don't usually suggest building Zhonya's. It doesn't really give Ryze the stats he needs. It doesn't give him any mana, any health. It does give him a good amount of ability power and a little bit of armor. But it can be very useful in some situations. Like say someone on the enemy team is really fed and your laning phase didn't go the best. Then getting this can be a good idea because a lot of times they'll just jump you and kill you instantly. You won't have a chance to do anything. So if you are kind of behind in lane and they have someone who's really fed on their team, getting Rod of Aegis and going straight for Zhonya's is not a bad idea. And then overall for late game, for like a 6th item, if you really just want some straight up bitch slapping damage, you're going to go for Rabadon's Death Cap. And I've actually found this to be a really good choice. Like for an economical 5th or 6th item, it really can get the job done. I've picked it in a few different games. I've won those games. It gives you health, mana, some health regen, which doesn't matter, but then the active on it is ridiculous. If you're ever in a team fight or trying to chase someone down, 60% bonus movement speed to you and nearby allies for 3 seconds is freaking ridiculous. Like that is absolutely insane. Plus, after the 3 seconds is up of you getting sped up, it sends out a Randuin's Omen slow, which slows enemies by 80% for 1 second. With that speed up and slow down, you can absolutely annihilate the enemy team with that one item. It's ridiculous. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous. Plus, it gives you the mana and health. So the mana is damage, health is health. So really, it's a strong item. Until you're more experienced with Ryze, I wouldn't suggest it. But once you start to get more experience, you'll find that it can be a very interesting choice. I've had a lot of success with it. All right, let's talk about some gameplay and some tips. So most of the time, you're going to want to take Teleport and Flash. It's going to get you back to lane. It's going to give you roaming potential, and Flash is OP on Ryze. I suggest most of the time starting with your E, because especially if they're melee, because whenever you use it on them, like what you see there, you're just going to throw out Auto Attack E. It's going to activate your Thunderlords, and usually when you do it, you're going to want to click one of your Flasks. because it's going to give you that extra damage because of the burn on it. Whenever you're level 2, whenever you're going up against a melee, I like to take my Rune Prison, which is your W, because if they ever jump on you or they're trying to escape, you just Rune Prison and you can get off another auto attack. And you're going to take your Q level 3 and then max your Q, because your Q is going to extend the duration of your passive, which is very important, and your Q is overall the most damage in your kit. Here Wukong jumps me, I auto attack. He jumps me, I E auto attack, W auto attack, and just absolutely blow him up with my auto attacks. Plus I'm using my flask for the burnout. And in this game I didn't start Doran's Ring, I started with the corruption potion. It's really strong against melee, like I said, because of all the burn on it with your auto attacks and spells. I am 2 deaths down because I'm getting camped by KingStix a little bit. So you got to be careful whenever you're stomping lane. You got to try to ward your best, otherwise you're just going to get camped. So like you see here, I'm maxing my Q and then my W and E are in equal points, but I am going to want to max my Rune Prison before my E, because of the length of the route is very important. I've established dominance in lane. I can pretty much chunk Wu quite easily. I'm just going to try to do my best to farm. I'm honestly really not farming that well since I do have 2 deaths, but you're just going to stick with it. I haven't even gotten my tier yet since I had enough money to go straight for Catalyst. I went ahead and just went for it. There I probably could have gotten the kill if I would have just stepped forward. I did more damage to Wu than I anticipated though. I do go ahead and just send him home. He's going to miss out on golden experience, so it's not that bad of a trade, but future reference, don't underestimate your damage like that. I could have killed him, but I was a little bit too cautious since I've been getting ganked by KingStix. Here Wukong's going to come back, but watch the way I manage my passive. I'm at like, I'm stacking it up, so right now I'm at 1 stack. I'm waiting. I'm at 2 stacks now, and as long as you have 2 stacks and up, you're not vulnerable. If you have 1 stack or less, you're vulnerable, because with your whole spell kit, you can't get onto your passive, because your passive, you need to use the spell 5 times. This is like within 6 seconds of each other, so managing that's very important. Since you have 4 spells, you can just make sure you have two on your passive before you start the fight. And since your ult does give you AoE, like even though Wukong went invisible there, I absolutely destroyed him. Your ult also does speed you up, so like there I just chased down Victor and absolutely destroyed him. But like I was talking about, Wukong, since he was invisible, my spells were AoE. I was hitting the minions and his clone, so I absolutely chunked him. Your teleport's very nice because you can teleport in and on a team fight and just destroy and just pick up free kills and just stomp. It's best before you teleport to get a few stacks, so that way when you come in, you'll have your passive and ult, but that's not always the case. Ryze, you're gonna have to watch out for heavy CC like Thresh and Lux and Morg. Someone who can just keep you in one spot forever is a big problem, because you rely off of doing damage, getting kills off your damage, and also rely off the spell vamp on your ult to stay alive. So here, like you see, I already used a spell, so I already have a stack of my passive. I ult to get up to him, I start chunking him down. Normally I would want to get ideally 4 stacks of my passive before I ult in, so I could just run up to him W. But that minion, like you saw there, I had 1 minion left and he's about to die, and I wouldn't have anything to have teleported onto properly. So this is around the mid-late game. My team's fading a little bit. We need to make something happen. Katarina goes in. She doesn't even have Hourglass. I step up. I get exhausted, destroy Wukong, start chunking down Thresh with my combo. And if you go back and watch that fight, I try to get my passive up to 4 stacks, so it's not on yet. And then on the 5th stack, that's when it activates. It gives you the shield, and then for about like 5 or 6 seconds, every time you cast a spell, it reduces the cooldown on your other spells by like 3 seconds. It's absolutely ridiculous. Right now I'm on my passive, I step forward, I dodge the hook. I'm on my passive and ult at the same time. Bard really fucked up that team fight because he wasted my ult and passive, because I was on my ult and passive at the same time, and he completely just hourglassed the whole enemy team. Plus he hourglassed our Katarina, which absolutely ruined it. We do end up losing this game. You gotta bear in mind, you can't win them all. One thing that's really important for you to look out for, to know if it was you or not, is to look at damage dealt to enemy champions, especially if you're on the losing team. And if you have the most damage dealt to enemy champions out of anybody, you can safely say that you were not the reason why you lost, most likely, and that you contributed quite a bit to your team. Like in this game, there's really not a whole lot I could do. Our Katarina didn't even get Hourglass, so she would just ult in. She would jump ult in and just get butt destroyed. She couldn't do anything, in my opinion. So that's pretty much the basics. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more so you can kind of get an idea. It's really important to manage your passive. That's the most important part. So here again, I started Flask. Level 1, you're going to throw out an auto attack and an E or E auto attack to get maximum damage. And when you do it, you're going to hit your Flask so that way you get the burn on it, on your corruption post. Playing smart, I see Kenny uses his W and then he uses his Q on one of the minions. So then I flash forward knowing he will have enough damage to kill me. I root him, I hit him with my Q, then hit him with my E, activating my Thunderlords, and since he's low on health, it's easily going to be enough to kill him. Picking up an easy kill in lane. It's important to know if you are playing Ryze properly, you're going to get camped. Elise comes top a couple of times and kind of fucks me up pretty hard. Because whenever you're dying, you're not getting gold or experience or anything. Elise comes top again. I did have it warded that this time, so I saw her coming. Kennen blows his flash and ult, so it is fine. If I did have my ultimate up, I might have been able to turn that or get away. Elise does come top again, and I don't really have any actual items yet. I just have my Catalyst and Tier, so I can't really fight it. It's important to note that no matter how down you get, don't rage, because Ryze has a lot of comeback potential. Also, if you're playing as Ryze, and as long as you're not getting stomped in lane, getting a gank can be really good, especially if your enemy's pushing on you. Since you have a snare, you just snare and pick up an easy kill. Here, before, like you saw when I got into the fight, I got up my passive stacks to the best of my ability, went in, W ult, and just dropped my load. Here, same thing. I had 4 stacks before I went into the fight. I clicked my ult and just started dropping my load. Ideally, what you're going to want to do to hold them still, ideally, you want to have 4 stacks on your passive, and you can see that little timer above your spells here. You want to have 4 stacks, and important to note, when you're in a bush, she can't see this. I'm in the bush casting it through the bush. She can't even see me in here. I come out, but I messed it up by ulting first and then snaring her. If I would have snared, ulted, then Q'd, E'd, snared, I could have killed her and held her in place. But with the timing of it, you have to snare, ult, Q, E, snare. That's very important to note. So ideally, if you don't want someone to be able to move away, like you just have to do so much damage on one person, it's going to be snare, ult, Q, E, snare, and then the rest of your combo, of course. And here, like you see, even though I got camped all game and I was a little bit behind, I just got a little bit of farm, a little bit of kills throughout the game, and we just 2v like 5 them. 2v5 with Blitzcrank coming in to finish up a kill. We completely aced their team. And if you go back and watch that, you'll just see the power of Ryze being on his passive and ult at the same time. Once you do hit the late game, it's very important that you pick up your Archangel's Staff. It's so strong. It turns into Seraph's Embrace, since you're going to have stacks on it as well for free. And then whenever you click it, it's going to give you shield based off your maximum mana. I was managing my stacks. I snared Elise. I just start dropping my load on her. She dies. I 1v3 and still get a kill. My teammates are fighting, 2 of them, and those 2 didn't get a kill on my team. So we easily win that fight with only me dying. Pretty freaking tanky, pretty freaking damage. I think Ryze is a really strong pick. You honestly need to work on the timing of your passive. Timing your passive and your ult to have those up is very important in the late game. Managing your passive in the early mid game is also very important. And then farming is also a main key. That's something we all need to work on. If you want some more specifics of the combo, I'm just going to show you a quick clip. I got it from Bobby. I'm going to leave you a link in the description to go watch his video and to his channel and stuff. He's an absolutely amazing Ryze, and he actually inspired me to play Ryze. I saw his montage and it's like, damn, I want to start playing Ryze.